Grayscale files S1 for SUI Trust. The Grayscale SUI Trust is a spot style ETF designed to provide direct exposure to the SUI native token. Grayscale's goal is to mirror SUI's market performance minus fees, giving long term investors a regulated, hassle free way to hold SUI without managing the asset directly. The move comes right after 21 Shares launched its SUI based ETF on NASDAQ. The race for SUI network investment products is on. Welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the SUI family. Shout out to you guys, for showing so much love on these updates. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and your bell icon is on so you're notified every time we upload. But as far as SUI's performance is concerned over the last 24 hours, it's up 2.3%. And again, that is not what I want you guys to focus on. I want you guys to focus on the weekly time frame. Yes, we're seeing the broader market down quite a bit on the weekly time frame, but it is one of the very few coins that's still holding on to the overall momentum, up 2.1%. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So, again, the market has pretty much corrected over the course of the last few days. Obviously, next week is very important, as I've highlighted on the channel. FOMC meeting coming up, and I think the market is already kind of preparing itself for that. But that doesn't mean we're done. I think we could still see some, volatility going into, of course, the FOMC meeting. But SUI is gaining mainstream, interest, of course, especially from the institutional side of things. And now, with this specific filing, it pretty much, if it were to be approved, it makes it super easy for people to have exposure in SUI, especially long-term accumulators, which tells you the confidence that these specific institutions have, the fact that they're filing this. Again, let me know what you guys think of that. But in terms of this blockchain itself, again, it is a competitor to the likes of Ethereum. It's a competitor to the likes of Solana, and in a short span of time, it has built up a lot of momentum, especially in terms of its DeFi sector as well. It has done quite well. So again, in the long term perspective, it still has a lot to prove. Obviously, in terms of TVL compared to the other chains, like the ones that I've just mentioned, it's still very low, but it is gaining traction. So we'll see what happens in the long term. I've seen at the same time, there's a lot of other coins that have come into the market before, that were very promising at one point, and then they're just no longer here. Especially layer ones I'm talking about. But one thing you could say about Sui is the fact that this does have institutional interest coming in, and those other coins didn't. But again, the risk factor still is there. So that's where your due diligence research comes into play, which I'm sure you guys are doing when you're watching these updates. But you're looking at the price of $1.57 right now, up 2.2% over the last 24 hours in USD, compared to about 3% on the Bitcoin side of things. Valuation almost at 5.9 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at $560 million. But if you're looking at the dominance here, I'm not going to take too much of your guys' time on this, but still very important to kind of keep in mind what's going on. Pretty much since November 25th, when we broke out here, you're starting to see the dominance pretty much ranging around here. As of now, you haven't really seen the dominance breaking below here, except this wick that we did see with the Bitcoin retracing down on December 5th. Which again did not last too long, but right now, we're still remaining above this key range. If this does not hold, I think we could see more downside for the dominance, but I think we might see this hold pretty much until the FOMC meeting is over. So we'll see what happens. As far as Bitcoin is concerned, like I said, we're still, ranging within this level above $89,000. Obviously, we do have some support around the $89,000 price point as well. If this does not hold, as I've stated to you guys before on the channel, 88,500 could be retested next. So again, still, I do expect a little bit more volatility could still end up happening for BTC, which of course does have an impact on altcoins. But as far as SUI is concerned, again, it is gaining a lot of traction. Like I said, these filings that are happening, we're seeing this happening with a lot of other coins. A lot of coins are, going mainstream. And I think this is just a little bit of a hint of what could the future look like, for, crypto entering into the mainstream. And if you're looking at SUI right now, pretty much since, December, obviously this November 21st low, and, December 1st retest, pretty much a double bottom in a way. Since then, the price has obviously, seen quite a significant bounce. If you want to put this into perspective, we saw about almost a 40% bounce for SUI. And since then, it's retracing a little bit. It's seeing a little bit of a minor pullback. But again, you need to factor in what a lot of people are overlooking right now is the fact that if you look at it over the last 1 week, the broader market is down right now, like seven, some down 20%, depending on what coin you're looking at. Of course, Sui is going to react. Yet it's still one of the coins that is holding on, the momentum overall better than the broader market because it's still in green. So again, a lot of people misunderstand when the market, I'm sorry, when a certain coin does see an uptick, when you do see the broader market see a retracement, no matter what kind of momentum this specific coin has, it is going to see a retracement. And that's exactly what we have seen happen with Sui. But I want to take you guys down, like zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture. Where is the price of Sui really sitting at? $1.57. We do have, support around that key range. Most importantly, where we came down to just a few hours back, you could see, we wicked down to $1.51, and you could see for yourself there is some support around that key range. So it's still holding up quite well, especially it's respecting this, move that we did see for itself. But again, if you're looking at it, just take a look at it on an hourly time frame. This kind of sums it up nicely. We're having a little bit of a hard time breaking out of the resistance at $1.60. We actually retested a few different times over the last few hours, actually, and that I'm talking about in just the last 2 to 3 hours to be exact. We saw several retests you could see at just below the $1.60 range. But again, we did get a rejection, and this is a level to be watching out for because we did see pretty much the same thing happening late November. So as of now, if this resistance is able to break out, I think, Sui could start reclaiming back up to, pretty much where it was just 2 days back. We cannot ignore the market, momentum right now based off of what we're seeing right now. So again, Bitcoin is still below this key range. If it's obviously able to break above 90K key range and, break and obviously turn this resistance into support, I think point 50 could, be a very realistic target to be looking forward to. But dominance is one thing you want to be paying attention to because again, if dominance breaks below here and starts pulling down to this level, especially I think this could potentially happen after the meeting is done, because I think market kind of getting prepared and for the sell the news event, and usually this does take place leading into the meeting itself. But again, Stewie is holding up quite nicely when you look at it from a bigger perspective. So that is a target to be looking forward to right now. If that is able to break out around that $1.60, I personally do believe the $1.70 for Sui could be a very realistic next target to be looking forward to, and that itself is a move of about 7% from where we currently are. Of course, in terms of its all-time highs, it has long ways to go, so you just cannot ignore the different price points that are coming as a hurdle. As of now, the $1.60, if that is able to break out, then of course, like I said, we could start heading up to the likes of the $1.75 next resistance, in my opinion. So so far so good. Still take it step by step. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. We'll see you later in crypto zx and peace.